Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Giri Varadhari Jaya Giri Varadhari. Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Brajajani Ranjana. Jaya Yashoda Nandana Jaya Brajajani Ranjana. Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Yamuna Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gopinath Shri Radhe. Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramamsa Pujikacharya Ashtot Shri Srimad Abhay Charanaravinda, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parijakacharya Ashtotra Shataji Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Mahārāja Prabhupada ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan ki Jai. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Nitai Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet nashtaprayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. So today we are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 22, text number 51. Phalam brahmani sanyasya Phalam brahmani sanyasya Nirvisanga samahitaha Nirvisanga samahitaha Karmadhyaksham chamanvana Karmadhyaksham chamanvana Atmanam prakrite param Atmanam prakrite param. Prabhus. Phalam brahmani sanyasya Nirvisanga samahitaha Karmadhyaksham chamanvana Atmanam prakrite param. Phalam brahmani sanyasya Let's look at the word-to-word meaning. Phalam. What is it? Phalam brahmani sanyasya Nirvisanga samahitaha Karmadhyaksham chamanvana Atmanam prakrite param. Let's look at the word-to-word meaning. Phalam, result. Brahmani, in the absolute truth. Sanyasya, giving up. Nirvisangaha, without being contaminated. Samahitaha, completely dedicated. Karma, activity. Adhyaksham, superintendent. Cha, and. Manvanaha, thinking of. Always thinking of. Atmanam, the super soul. Prakrite, of material nature. Param, transcendental. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Mahārāja Pṛthu completely dedicated himself to be an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, transcendental to material nature. Consequently, all the fruits of his activities were dedicated to the Lord, and he always thought of himself as the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the proprietor of everything. We have a long purport today, so we will discuss during the class, and we'll do the Mangalacharan, and then we will move into the rest of the purport. We'll read the first paragraph. The life and dedication of Mahārāja Pṛthu in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead serve as a good example of Karma Yoga. The term Karma Yoga is often used in Bhagavad Gita, and herein Mahārāja Pṛthu is giving a practical example of what Karma Yoga actually is. The first requirement for the proper execution of Karma Yoga is given herein. Phalam Brahmani Sanyasya or Vinyasya. One must give the fruits of his activities to the Supreme Brahman, Parabrahman Krishna. By doing so, one actually situates himself in the renounced order of life, Sannyasa. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 18.2, giving up the fruits of one's activities to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is called sannyasa. Kamyanam karmanam nyasam sannyasam kavayo viduhu sarva karma phalatyagam prahustyagum vichakshanaha. To give up the results of all activities is called renunciation, tyaga, by the wise. And that state is called the renounced order of life, sannyasa, by great learned men. Although he was living as a householder, Pṛthu Maharaj was actually in the renounced order of life, sannyasa. This will be clearer in the following verses. So we'll do Mangalacharan and then we'll continue with the rest of the purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Bhutair Mahadbir Yahima Puro Vibhu Nirmaya Shete Yadamo Shupurusha Bhungter Gunam Shodasha Satmaka Solang Krashishta Bhagavan Vachamsi Me Shri Krishna Sharanam Sharanagatam Katha Amritam Satatapi Batam Bhakti Vedanta Marga Panktanam Sarvaloka Rishi Deva Janna Prasannam Sarvaloka Rishi Deva Janna Prasannam. Hare Krishna. Welcome again everyone to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam. So with the blessings of Shri Radha Gopinath, today let us hear, speak and discuss from Srimad Bhagavatam, which is considered as a literary incarnation of Shri Krishna himself. So in chapter 22 of Canto 4 of Srimad Bhagavatam, we are first hearing how the Kumaras, the four Kumaras, the sons of Brahma have arrived and they are giving instructions to Pṛthu Maharaj. And then what happens? Pṛthu Maharaj thanks the Kumaras and he glorifies them. And after that now Maitreya Muni is speaking about the great qualities of Mahārāja Pṛthu, of how wonderfully he ruled the planet. What an amazing personality he was. How he showed great Vaishnava qualities. So in today's verse specifically, we are speaking about how Mahārāja Pṛthu dedicated his entire life to Shri Krishna. And he showed us by practical example on how to perform one's duties. That is, how to do our karma yoga. So what does the translation say? We will hear it once again. Mahārāja Pṛthu completely dedicated himself to be an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, transcendental to material nature. Consequently, all the fruits of his activities were dedicated to the Lord, and he always thought of himself as the servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the proprietor of everything. So, in the first paragraph of the purport, we see Srila Prabhupada explaining to us how Pṛthu Maharaj situated himself as the perfect servant of the Supreme Lord. So he was following the instruction given by Shri Krishna through the Bhagavad Gita. So what did Shri Krishna say? Dedicate all the fruits of your activities to me. So that is real renunciation. So renunciation doesn't just necessarily mean that one just gives up one's entire life and just goes to the forest, sits down by himself and just focuses on himself, meditating and, just chanting Om, or, chanting Om is very good. But it is not just about trying to focus on one's inner self alone. What renunciation actually means is when you perform your duties and when you give the results of your activities to Krishna for Lord Krishna's pleasure. So we see that how Pṛthu Mahārāja exemplified that quality. So whatever activities he did, he dedicated the fruits of those activities for the pleasure of Krishna. So even though Mahārāja Pṛthu was a householder, meaning he was a grihastha, he was living along with his family, yet he dedicated everything for the pleasure of Krishna. So we see that Srila Prabhupada gives the example of this verse from the Gita. Kamyanam karmanam nyasam sanyasam kavayo viduhu sarva karma phalatyagam prahustyagam vichakshanaha. To give up the results of all activities is called renunciation by the wise. And that state is called the renounced order of life, sannyasa, by great learned men. Although he was living as a householder, Pṛthu Mahārāja was actually in the renounced order of life. And this will be clearer in the following verses. So as we keep reading the subsequent verses in this chapter, we will see how Pṛthu Mahārāja portrayed this quality in his life. So recently I was hearing from, in one of his classes, His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhuji was talking to us about our Gurudev, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. And he was speaking about his wonderful quality of renunciation. And there he was speaking about the distinction between what is frustration and what is renunciation. So frustration is a bit like starving. One is just craving for something. So the desire to enjoy is there. But then the ability to enjoy is not there. And therefore what happens? A person becomes frustrated with everything. And in that mood, they think that they are just renounced. They think that they are just giving up everything. Whereas, what is actual renunciation? It looks like fasting. So what is fasting? We do that, isn't it? On days like Ekadashi or other days when one takes up fasting. Even though the food is right there in front of you, what do? You still try to restrain. Because you know that you are doing that for the pleasure of the Lord. So renunciation is a bit like that, where one still has the ability to enjoy, but the desire is not there. So what happens? We can practically follow this in our life. Even though Krishna blesses us with a lot of gifts, what do? We don't take those gifts just for our personal enjoyment, but we use those gifts in turn for the pleasure of Krishna. So that is real renunciation. And that is what we see in today's purport as well, that Srila Prabhupada is explaining. So we don't just say, oh, I don't want this, I don't want that. But what do? We accept everything as Krishna's blessings as Krishna's gifts for us. And then what do? We offer them back to Krishna for Krishna's pleasure. So in the next paragraph of the purport, we see the word nirvisangaha, uncontaminated, is very significant because Mahārāja Pṛthu was not attached to the results of his activities. In this material world, a person is always thinking of the proprietorship of everything he accumulates or works for. When the fruits of one's activities are rendered to the service of the Lord, one is actually practicing karma yoga. Anyone can practice karma yoga, but it is especially easy for the householder who can install the deity of the Lord in the home and worship him according to the methods of bhakti yoga. This method includes 9 items: hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping the deity, praying, carrying out orders, serving Krishna as friend, and sacrificing everything for him. So what is a beautiful verse? Shravanam kirtanam Vishnu smaranam padasevanam archanam vandanam dasyam sakhyam atmanivedhanam. So here Srila Prabhupada is explaining how one can practically not be attached to the fruits of our activities. How can we not be practically attached to the results of all our actions? So for example, one might be working, and everybody is working and people earn. They have a job, they earn money. But then what do you do with that money? We don't just keep it for one's own enjoyment, but from the money that one earns, yes, of course, you need to look after your body and soul together. You need a little, dwelling place. You need to look after your family. All that is there. But from the money that you earn, you then donate for Krishna's pleasure. For example, we are building a beautiful temple for Shri Radha Gopinath. So if all of us want to practically follow this verse, then from whatever we earn, we set aside a certain amount and we say, I am going to give this for Krishna's pleasure. I am going to give this for building a temple for Krishna. So like that, when we keep refining our approach, our mood towards the results of our actions, then we are renounced even in our life wherever we are situated. So we don't have to put on orange robes and say, I'm renounced from everything. That is, yes, that is a method that is meant for some people who are, who want to follow that path. But for many who are situated in wherever we are, whatever position we are, we can still be renounced by dedicating the fruits of our actions for Krishna's pleasure. So here Srila Prabhupada is explaining how we can have a deity at home and see that the deity is the proprietor of everything. So we hear in Bhagavad Gita in 5.29, Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam nyatva mam shantim richati. So this is called as the peace formula. Why is it called as a peace formula? Because no matter what challenges we face in life, as soon as we tune our mind into Krishna and we know that Krishna is the enjoyer, He is the proprietor of everything. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam. So whatever we do, all our tapas, all our austerities, all the actions that we do, everything is for Krishna's enjoyment. Once we refine our mind to that, and once we start aligning with Krishna's desires, then we become peaceful in whatever situation we are. We don't become anxious about anything. Yes, the challenges of life will be there because material life is like an ocean. So we have the big tides, we have the big waves, we have the sharks and the whales in the ocean. But still somehow we traverse through that. We don't let all that affect us internally. So internally we know that I am a servant of Krishna. Whatever I'm doing is for Krishna's pleasure. No matter what challenges I go through, I am strong. My life is dedicated for Krishna's pleasure, and therefore nothing can touch me. So this mood will come into our way of life. So we'll go into the next para. And here, of course, Srila Prabhupada explains about the 9 ways of how we can serve Krishna. So we can either have a deity at home, or sometimes some people, if they cannot follow all the rules and regulations of serving the deities, then they can have a beautiful photo of Sri Radha and Krishna and still worship. So somehow we know that Krishna is the leader of our house. So in the next para we see, these methods of karma yoga and bhakti yoga are being broadcast all over the world by the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Anyone can learn these methods simply by following the examples of the members of the society. In one's home or in a temple, the deity is considered the proprietor of everything, and everyone is considered the deity's eternal servant. So that is what we saw. So Shri Radha Gopinath is our proprietor. He is our king. He is our supreme lover. So when we know that, what will we do? Whatever we do, we will do it for Shri Radha Gopinath's pleasure. The words, the Lord is transcendental, for he is not part of this material creation. The words Prakrite Param are used in this verse because everything within this material world is created by the external material energy of the Lord. But the Lord himself is not a creation of this material energy. The Lord is the supreme superintendent of all material creations, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagad viparivartate. This material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all the moving and unmoving beings. And by its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So, what Srila Prabhupada is explaining here is, he is focusing on the words Prakrite Param, which we saw in today's verse. That is, Atmanam Prakrite Param. That is why Pṛthu Maharaj was dedicated to the Supreme Lord. So here Srila Prabhupada is explaining that Sri Krishna is always aloof from the material creation. He doesn't touch the material world. And therefore, his greatness and his supremacy remains untouched. So we'll see in one of the subsequent verses, we see the example of the sun. And also that is given to describe how even Pṛthu Mahārāja remained aloof from being touched by the material actions, whatever he has to do in his life. Because the sun's rays falls on everything, isn't it? When we go out, we see that the sun is shining. And the sun's rays, it falls on the trees, it falls on our head, it falls on the land, it falls on the ocean, it falls on the beautiful birds. And the sun's rays also falls on very dirty things, isn't it? We see so many dirty things around on the ground. But still the sun's rays is also falling on that. But what does the sun's rays do? It cleanses the dirty things. And instead, those dirty things, it doesn't affect the sunshine or the sun rays, isn't it? The sun rays just comes from the sky. It falls. No matter where it falls, the sun's heat and light remains untouched. So like that, we see that Pṛthu Mahārāja, though he was engaged in many different activities for the reason of leading his material life, he was untouched by anything. He could still understand his position as the eternal servant of Prakrite Param, who is Sri Krishna, who is the proprietor of the whole world, of the whole of creation. And then in the next para we see, all material changes and material progress taking place by the wonderful interaction of matter are under the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Events in the material world are not taking place blindly. If one always remains a servant of Krishna and engages everything in his service, one is accepted as Jivan Mukta, a liberated soul, even during his lifetime within the material world. Generally, liberation takes place after one gives up this body, but one who lives according to the example of Pṛthu Mahārāja is liberated even in this lifetime. In Krishna consciousness, the results of one's activities depend on the will of the Supreme Person. Indeed, in all cases, the result is not dependent on one's own personal dexterity, but is completely dependent on the will of the Supreme. This is the real significance of Phalam Brahmani Sanyasya, that is, which we saw in today's verse. A soul dedicated to the service of the Lord should never think of himself as a personal proprietor or the superintendent. A dedicated devotee should prosecute his work according to the rules and regulations described in devotional service. The results of his activities are completely dependent on the supreme will of the Lord. So, which is what we see in the Damodar Leela as well. Isn't it? We put in our efforts, but then there is Krishna's mercy that brings anything to us. Anything in our life is only sanctioned by Krishna. So once we come to that understanding, then what happens? We remain untouched by anything that happens in our life. Okay, we get something, we know, all right, this is Krishna's blessing, this is Krishna's gift for me, and I will use it back for his pleasure. We don't get something, we know, okay, this is Krishna's will. He is giving me protection. Krishna knows that something is not right for me. So that way what happens in all our choices in our life, we place Krishna as the center of our object, we place him as the object of our love. So we see how this is possible in one of the earlier verses, where we see the example of Pṛthu Mahārāja of how he served. Yat pada pankaja palasha vilasa bhaktya karmashayam gratitam udgratayanti santaha tadvannarik matayo yatayopi ruddha shroto ganastamaranam bhajavasudevam. The devotees who are always engaged in the service of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord can very easily overcome hard-knotted desires for fruitive activities. Because this is very difficult, the non-devotees, the jnanis and yogis, although trying to stop the waves of sense gratification, cannot do so. Therefore, you are advised to engage in the devotional service of Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. So this is what the Kumaras are telling to Pṛthu Mahārāja. In the same chapter, this was one of the verses before. So it is very difficult on our own to manage all our desires. So desires are like a river. They just keep flowing into us. But what happens when we become like the ocean? So what happens in the ocean? The rivers flow, the waters flow, the tides come, they go up and down during the full moon. Sometimes the tides are very high. During the new moon, the tides are high, or the tides may be low. But whatever happens, the ocean remains calm. So like that, and also what Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport is that just as the rivers that may be going through many turbulent waves, when it reaches the ocean, which is like Krishna, and when we start serving Krishna, what happens? The ocean's tides, they will supersede the flow of the river. Isn't it? The river might be flowing with full force, but when it reaches the ocean's tides become even bigger than the river. So like that, when our little material desires affect us so much, when we start serving Krishna, and when we begin to take pleasure in serving Krishna, then what happens? That supreme pleasure that Krishna enjoys, that supersedes everything else. So then what happens? We also become a part of Krishna's pleasure. So then what happens? Nothing can affect us in our life. So that way, when we start to see all that happens in our life as a way of taking us to Krishna's lotus feet, then we can remain calm. And we will dedicate all our activities for Krishna's pleasure. Just as we saw in today's verse, how Pṛthu Mahārāja dedicated all his activities for Krishna's pleasure. So today we have to end our class at 8:50 because there's going to be some renovation work in the altar. So we will end here, but we will just conclude with one beautiful verse from the Gita, which can be our inspiration. So it is from Bhagavad Gita 6.25. I will just quickly go to that verse. Bhagavad Gita 6.25. So the verses Shanay Shanair Uparamed Buddhya Driti Grihitaya Atma Samstam Mana Kritva Na Kinchid Api Chintayet. Gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. So we will take this as our inspiration today, that gradually, step by step, we train our mind with intelligence, with conviction, to be focused on Prakrite Param, which we saw in today's verse. To be fixed on Krishna, to be fixed in our service of his lotus feet. And that way, we can also follow in the footsteps of Pṛthu Mahārāja to always be engaged in serving and pleasing Shri Shri Radha Gopinath. So we will end here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande.